Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are not just scratching the surface, we are excavating, we are tackling the big
The
one.
biggest one, maybe?
I think so. The universal obsession, the thing that, keeps the lights on in the self-help industry and keeps bookstores in business.
It really is the ultimate question, isn't it? How do I become successful?
It is. I mean, think about it. If you open a browser right now, and please don't stay with us, but if you were to type, "How do I?"
Oh, yeah.
the autocomplete is almost guaranteed to just shout, "Become successful" at you. It's the most Googled, bookmarked, obsessed over topic in, I don't know, the history of human improvement.
We seem to be hardwired to seek it out.
We are, and yet, and be honest here, if you actually click on those links, if you go down that rabbit hole, it is a total disaster zone.
It's absolute chaos. It's a cacophony of just conflicting advice.
Right. It's not just that there's a lot of information, it's that the information is actively fighting with itself.
Exactly. It's a tug of war. I mean, on one side, you've got the hustle bros on social media.
Oh, I know these guys.
You know the ones. They're telling you that sleep is for the weak. You have to wake up at 3 a.m., take a freezing cold shower, drink raw eggs, and just hustle until your eyes bleed.
If you weren't suffering, you weren't trying. I'll sleep when I'm dead.
Precisely. But then you scroll down maybe 2 inches, and the algorithm swings you to the complete opposite end of the spectrum.
Right.
And you get the manifestation crowd. They're telling you that hard work is actually a block to your abundance. You need to, nap in hammock and realign your chakras and just attract wealth through good vibrations.
So your options are either a heart attack at 40 or waiting for a magical check in the mail that is never going to come.
It's contradictory, it's overwhelming, and frankly, a lot of it is just noise. It's designed to sell you a course or a seminar.
And it leaves people paralyzed. They just don't know which map to follow. Exactly. And that is why we are here today. We are going to cut through that noise with a machete. We've done something a little different for this deep dive. We didn't just read one biography of a billionaire or one psychology textbook.
No, we decided to go wider, much wider.
Yeah.
We leveraged the processing power of the current AI landscape.
We did. We took a massive stack of sources, articles, research papers, interviews, and we fed all of it into a synthesis of the world's most powerful AI analyses. We're talking about a roundtable of Claude, Gemini, Perplexity, Copilot, Grok, DeepSeek, and ChatGPT.
And what makes it so interesting is the scale of it. These tools have scanned millions of data points. Psychological research, expert interviews, blog posts, academic papers, biographies of historical figures. All of it to find the patterns.
So we're not looking for one person's opinion.
No, we're looking for the consensus. We're trying to find the signal in all that noise.
And the mission today is pretty simple. Strip away the hustle culture hype, ignore the survivorship bias, and find the scientifically and, practically proven pillars of success. We want to know what actually works, according to the data.
Not what sounds good on a bumper sticker.
Exactly, not a motivational quote. We want to know what actually moves the needle.
And I think the best place to start, then, is to address the immediate problem that popped up in almost every single source we looked at. It was the first hurdle in the data.
Oh, you mean the "it depends" problem?
Precisely. Claude, Gemini, Copilot, they all started with this mandatory disclaimer. They all flagged that success is highly personal and subjective.
Which, to be honest, can feel like a bit of a cop-out, right? You come looking for the secret formula, the map to the treasure, and the computer just tells you, well, the treasure is whatever you feel like it is.
It does feel a bit like a fortune cookie.
It does.
But it's actually a critical data point. It really is. If you don't define the target, you can't possibly hit it. But here's the nuance that makes this actionable. While the definition of success varies.
Right. For you, it's $1 billion. For me, it's a happy family.
Exactly. Maybe it's a private jet. Maybe it's coaching Little League. Maybe it's curing a disease. But the mechanics of how you get there are surprisingly consistent across all the data.
Okay, so the destination changes, but the vehicle is the same.
That's a great way to put it. Whether you want to run a Fortune 500 company or run a sub-3-hour marathon, the underlying principles of discipline, mindset, and resilience, they don't change.
The engine is the same.
The engine is the same, the fuel is the same, the maintenance is the same.
That makes a lot of sense. Gravity applies to everyone, whether you're building a hut or a skyscraper.
Right. And speaking of definitions, I really loved the distinction that was found in the Grok source, specifically referencing an organization called Finally Family Homes. They split success into 2 very distinct buckets: external markers and internal fulfillment.
And that feels like a vital distinction to make right at the start. So let's break that down. External markers.
External markers are what society sees.
Yeah.
It's the resume virtues, it's the wealth, the status, the job titles, the verified check mark.
The corner office, the zip code you live in, the things you post on Instagram.
Exactly, the things we usually envy in others. But then there's internal fulfillment. And this is what you feel when you put the phone down. It's your relationships, your health, your creativity, your peace of mind. It's that feeling that your life has meaning. And the data overwhelmingly suggests that if you only chase the external stuff,
You might get it.
you might technically succeed by society's standards, but you won't feel successful.
It's the classic tears in a Ferrari scenario.
Right. And look, we can joke about it, and crying in a Ferrari is probably more comfortable than crying on a bicycle, but it's still trying. Misery is misery.
Right.
The data just warns us that so many people climb the ladder only to realize it was leaning against the wrong wall the whole time.
So if we're going to do this, we need a holistic view. We need to cover getting the Ferrari and actually enjoying the ride.
We do. So we've broken this down into a roadmap based on the consensus from all the sources. First, we're going to look at the foundation, which is all about mindset.
Okay.
Then we'll get into the grind, which is the action, the habits, all the boring stuff that actually works. After that, the network, or how other people can accelerate your path. And finally, we'll talk about the trap why success might not actually make you happy, and how to avoid that arrival fallacy.
All right, let's unpack this. Let's start with the foundation. Mindset over matter.
This is where it all begins. I mean, you can have all the talent in the world, the best business plan, the richest parents, but if your operating system, your brain, isn't wired correctly, none of it matters. You'll just self-sabotage.
And the sources, I'm looking at Perplexity, Gemini, and Grok here. They all pointed really heavily to this concept of the growth mindset. Now, we hear this term a lot in corporate seminars. It's almost become a buzzword. But let's actually define what it means in this context and why the science seems to back it up.
Right. And they often cite the research from Dr. Carol Dweck on this. A growth mindset is, at its core, the belief that your ability isn't fixed. It's the fundamental belief that you can learn and you can grow.
This one really hits home for me. I remember being a kid in school and just thinking, I'm bad at math.
Oh, everyone has one of those.
Right. Like it was a genetic trait, like having brown eyes. I just don't do numbers. I truly believe my brain was just missing the math chip.
And that is the classic fixed mindset. It's the belief that your intelligence, your character, your creative ability, all of it is just carved in stone. And what the sources suggest is that this is a lie we tell ourselves to stay safe.
Safe from what?
Safe from failure.
What?
When you view your skills as static, as fixed, failure becomes a judgment on your soul.
Wow.
If you try to do a math problem and you fail, a fixed mindset says, see, I'm stupid. I knew it. I shouldn't try this again. It protects your ego by preventing you from even trying.
Because if I don't try, I can't prove that I'm bad at it.
Exactly. But a growth mindset just flips the script entirely.
How so?
A growth mindset says, I haven't learned this yet. And Perplexity really emphasized this shift. It changes the entire chemical reaction you have to failure. You have to start viewing failure not as a judgment on your character, but as data. It's just feedback.
I love that. Failure isn't a verdict. It's just a data point. It's just telling you what didn't work so you can adjust your approach. It removes all the emotional weight of screwing up.
Exactly. Think about a scientist in a lab. If she mixes two chemicals and the beaker explodes, she doesn't go home, crawl into bed, and cry about being a bad person.
No, she gets a mop.
She gets a mop, cleans it up, and writes in her notebook. Okay, that combination is volatile. Let's try a different ratio. That is the growth mindset. It turns life into a laboratory instead of a courtroom.
And if you treat life like a lab, you're willing to run more experiments. And if you run more experiments, you're way more likely to find a breakthrough.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Which leads directly into the next pillar of the foundation, which is this idea of confidence versus self-belief.
I found this part fascinating in the research. I always thought those were the same thing, or at least, synonyms. She's confident, she believes in herself. It feels like the same sentence.
Well, they're often used interchangeably in, casual conversation. But there's a nuance in the perplexity analysis that is really important for anyone trying to build something. Confidence isn't just waking up and feeling good.
Right. It's not just staring in the mirror and doing affirmations.
It's not magic. And it's not just fake it till you make it, which is the standard advice you always hear.
Right. Just puff out your chest and pretend you know what you're doing.
That might work for 5 minutes in a meeting, but it just dissolves into real pressure. Real confidence, the data says, comes from past achievements. It's a building block. You build it by acquiring skills and recording small wins.
So you don't wait to feel confident to start something.
No. And that is the trap where people get stuck. They wait for the feeling of confidence to arrive before they take the first step.
They think confidence is a prerequisite for action.
Exactly. But the data says it's the other way around. You get a small win. Maybe you just wrote one page of the book or made one sales call or ran 1 mile, and that gives you the confidence to take the next step.
It's a loop.
It's a feedback loop. You build self-belief by stacking up evidence that you can do hard things.
That's actually really liberating. It means you don't have to feel like a superhero to begin. You just need to start building the evidence. It's like you're building a court case in your own mind to prove to yourself that you're capable.
That's a perfect way to put it. Every rep at the gym, every email sent, every hour you study is another piece of evidence. And eventually, the pile of evidence gets so high that you can't deny your own competence.
It's act your way into right thinking.
Not the other way around. But to start building that evidence, you need to know where you're going. And this brings us to the role of vision. DeepSeek and Perplexity both talk about this.
Visualization.
Right. But I know what you're thinking.
It can get a little woo-woo sometimes, just closing your eyes and imagining a yacht and expecting it to float into your driveway.
You can definitely drift into fantasy if you aren't careful. But the sources ground it in practicality. It's more than just daydreaming. DeepSeek highlights the importance of SMART goals.
Ah, the acronym.
You've probably heard it, but it's worth repeating because it's the bridge between a wish and an actual plan.
Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
Exactly. It's not enough to say, I want to be successful. That's way too vague. Your brain acts on specificity. It's like getting in a taxi and telling the driver, take me somewhere nice.
You're not going anywhere.
You're not moving. The driver needs an address. You have to say, take me to 123 Main Street.
So in success terms, you have to say, I want to increase my sales by 20% by December 31st by making 5 extra calls a day.
That is specific, measurable, and time-bound. And once you have that clarity, then visualization becomes a tool. Perplexity notes that visualizing the outcome helps bring it to life, but, and this is a big but, only if it's tied to that concrete roadmap.
So you visualize the result and the process.
Yes. You visualize crossing the finish line, but you also have to visualize the training runs in the rain when you don't want to go.
It prepares your brain for the reality of the task.
Precisely. Athletes do this all the time. They visualize the perfect shot, but they also visualize recovering from a bad play. It primes the neural pathways so that when you're actually in the situation, it feels like you've been there before.
Okay, so the foundation is believe you can grow. That's the growth mindset. Stack small wins to build real confidence. That's the confidence loop. And have a hyper-specific vision of where you're going, the SMART goals.
That's the mindset. That's the software. But as Claude and ChatGPT were very quick to point out, you can have the best software in the world, but if the hardware doesn't run...
Ouch. Ideas are cheap.
Ideas are cheap. We all know idea guys.
Oh, we all have that friend. I invented Uber before Uber. I had the idea for Facebook back in 2003.
But you didn't code it. You didn't incorporate. You didn't do the actual work.
Execution is everything.
Which brings us to segment 2, the grind.
The grind. Okay, this is where the rubber meets the road. This is the unsexy part. This is the part they usually montage over in the movies.
Right. And Claude puts it pretty brutally. Success rarely comes from extraordinary talent alone.
Yeah.
It comes from consistent application.
Consistent application. That sounds boring.
It is boring.
Yeah.
That is the secret. Everyone looks for the excitement, the launch party, the IPO, the viral moment. But success is found on a Tuesday morning at 6:01 a.m. when you don't want to get out of bed and you do it anyway. And the sources, especially Grok, citing Medium, they talk about deliberate practice.
Let's define that, because I can practice shooting basketballs for 10 years, but if I'm doing it underhand and blindfolded, I'm not actually getting better.
No, you're just reinforcing bad habits.
Right.
Deliberate practice is not just repetition. It's not just working hard. It's working strategically. Grok uses the phrase practice, 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 but it has to be combined with feedback loops.
Okay.
You are constantly pushing yourself slightly outside of your comfort zone, failing, analyzing why you failed, and then correcting your approach.
So you're not just banging your head against the wall. You're banging your head, checking if the wall cracked, adjusting your angle, and then banging it again.
Exactly. You are constantly measuring your performance against a standard and adjusting. And it requires intense focus. You can't do deliberate practice while you're watching Netflix or scrolling TikTok. It's cognitively demanding work.
And to do that effectively, you really need a system. You can't just rely on willpower. I mean, willpower is a battery. It runs out.
It does. And ChatGPT and Grok mention some specific productivity frameworks that are proven to work to help preserve that battery.
Which one stood out?
One that came up from ChatGPT, which feels increasingly relevant, is monk mode or deep work.
This is huge in our current distracted world. I feel like my own attention span has been just shattered by short-form video and notifications. I sit down to work on something important, and 5 minutes later, I'm wondering what happened to the last hour.
You and everyone else, we are living in an attention economy, and your attention is the product that's being sold. Monk mode is about reclaiming that asset.
So what does it look like?
It's about eliminating all distractions to focus on the one thing that actually moves the needle. It means closing the tabs, putting your phone in another room or in a timed lockbox if you have to, and doing the deep, concentrated thinking.
It sounds lovely, but also terrifying. We're so addicted to the pings and the dings. It's a literal chemical addiction, right? We get a dopamine hit every time the screen lights up.
It is. But that's why it's a competitive advantage. If you can focus for 4 uninterrupted hours when everyone else is being distracted every 4 minutes, you win. The bar for deep work is so low right now that if you could just sustain your attention, you look like a genius.
You produce quality while everyone else is just producing noise.
Right. And Grok also mentioned the Eisenhower matrix. I use this sometimes when I feel overwhelmed. It helps sort through the chaos.
It's a classic for a reason. It comes from Dwight Eisenhower, who is, incredibly productive as both a general and a president.
Right. You divide your tasks into 4 quadrants based on urgency and importance.
Can you walk us through the quadrants? Because when you're stressed, everything feels urgent.
It does. So quadrant 1 is urgent and important. These are your crises, your deadlines, firefighting. If your house is on fire, that's quadrant 1. You have to do these things.
Okay, got it.
Then you have quadrant 3. That's urgent but not important. These are the interruptions. Most of your emails live here, some meetings. Things that scream, look at me now because someone else wants you to do them, but they don't actually advance your long-term goals.
I have minute interruptions that turn into an hour.
Those are the killers. And quadrant 4, that's not urgent and not important. Doom scrolling, binge watching TV, busy work, like organizing your desktop icons for an hour.
And the magic, the real progress happens in quadrant 2.
That's where success lives. Important, but not urgent. This is planning, skill building, relationship building, exercise.
Right.
No one is screaming at you to do these things today. The house isn't on fire if you skip the gym or don't write your business plan today. But if you don't do them consistently, you stagnate.
And most people spend their entire lives just bouncing between the fires of quadrant 1 and the distractions of quadrant 3.
Exactly. And to stay in quadrant 2, that requires discipline. Which brings up another point that Perplexity noted, delayed gratification.
This is scientifically linked to success. This is the famous marshmallow test, right?
Yes, the Stanford experiment from the 60s and 70s. You put a marshmallow in front of a child. You tell them, I'm going to leave the room. If you don't eat this marshmallow for 15 minutes, when I come back, I'll give you a second one.
And the video footage of this is just hilarious. You see kids licking the table, staring at the ceiling, trying to distract themselves from the marshmallow.
It is. But the follow-up data is profound. The kids who could wait, the ones who could delay that gratification, they ended up with better SAT scores, lower BMIs, better social skills, just better life outcomes decades later.
It's the ability to sacrifice immediate pleasure, like watching Netflix or buying a new car you can't really afford for a long-term gain.
It's choosing what you want most over what you want now.
Perfectly said. But even with all the discipline in the world, things are going to go wrong. You will fail. You will get punched in the mouth, metaphorically speaking.
And that is where grit comes in.
Deeply excited Angela Duckworth here. She wrote the definitive book on this. And grit is defined as passion plus perseverance for long-term goals.
It's sticking with your future, day in, day out. Not just for the week, not just for the month, but for years. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And it's running that marathon while it's raining and one of your shoes is untied.
And I have to bring this up because it made me laugh, but it's also so true. Grok found this Medium article that uses the acronym CRIP to describe what you have to push through.
I saw that. It's vivid.
Yep.
It sticks in your mind.
It does. To succeed, the article says you must push through criticism, rejection, assholes, and pressure. CRIP.
It's funny, but it's also a serious reality check for anyone starting something new.
It is. Because we often visualize success as this montage of just winning. We see the trophies. We see the exit interview. We don't visualize the criticism. We don't visualize the hundreds of rejection letters.
Or the assholes, as the source so elegantly puts it. You will deal with difficult people. You'll have bosses who don't get it, partners who cheat you, doubters who mock what you're doing, and you will face immense pressure where everything feels like it's on the line.
And Grok says that resilience, the ability to just wade through all that CRP, is often cited as the #1 reason for success.
The expert analysis suggests this is exactly where most people quit. They have the vision, they might even have the talent, but the first time they get hit with major rejection or criticism, they fold. Resilience is simply the refusal to fold. It's the ability to say, this sucks, but I'm still here.
So we've got the mindset, which is the software, and we have the grind, the hardware. But what keeps the engine running? What's the fuel? If the grind is so boring and the CRP is so unpleasant, why would people do it? Why not just give up and watch TV?
That brings us to segment 3, the fuel. And it comes down to passion. Or, as Grok put it, citing a really interesting term attributed to Rupert Murdoch, workaholics.
Workaholics. I love that. It sounds like a condition, but a fun one.
It does. And it implies that successful people work hard, but they enjoy it. They are frolicking in their work. It feels like play to them.
You know, there's a debate here, though. Some people say follow your passion is terrible advice. They say follow opportunity and bring your passion with you. They say passion's for hobbies, work is for making money. But the sources, they seem to lean towards the necessity of actually loving the work.
They do. The sources, specifically Grok, citing Richard St. John and also Gemini, they argue that you have to love what you do. And the reason why is because of the grind we just talked about. The work is simply too hard to sustain over the long haul if you don't like it.
That makes total sense. If you hate it, you're not going to survive the CRP. You'll quit the first time the assholes show up.
Exactly. If you're only doing it for the money, your resilience will crack under pressure. You'll just say, they aren't paying me enough for this. But if you love the problem you're solving, you'll keep going because the work itself is part of the reward.
This leads to the distinction that Perplexity makes between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation.
Right. Intrinsic motivation is your internal drive. It's curiosity, mastery, purpose.
Yeah.
You do it because you want to get better at it or because it fascinates you. Extrinsic is all the external rewards, money, fame, awards, getting your parents' approval.
And the data says
Perplexity's analysis is that, true, sustainable success is driven by intrinsic motivation. Extrinsic motivation is a sugar rush. It burns off really fast. Intrinsic motivation is like slow-burning coal. It can last forever.
And this is where it gets really interesting, the money paradox.
Right. Grok points this out. The paradox is that if you pursue your passion and focus on adding value to the world, the financial rewards often follow. But if you chase the money directly, it often eludes you.
It's like a cat. If you run after it, it runs away. But if you just sit down and do your work, it jumps right in your lap.
That's a great analogy. Look at the example of Bill Gates that was mentioned in the Grok source. He didn't start a software company just to be the richest man in the world.
No, he was obsessed with coding.
He was a total nerd for it. He would sneak out of his house at night to go to the computer lab. He wanted to put a computer on every desk because he truly believed in the tool. The value he created was immense, and the wealth was a byproduct of that value.
So find the thing you can be a workaholic about, and the rest tends to sort itself out.
To an extent, but you can't do it in a vacuum. You can be the hardest working, most passionate person in the world, but if you're all alone, you have a ceiling. You can't scale.
Which brings us to segment 4, the accelerator.
The network, people.
Right.
And Gemini, DeepSeek, and Perplexity all converge on this one point. The self-made individual is a myth. It is a total fabrication.
That's a hard pill for some people to swallow. We love the story of the lone genius in the garage. The Steve Jobs, the Elon Musk.
It's a romantic story, but it's false.
Yeah.
Even the guy in the garage needed someone to buy his product. He needed suppliers. He needed a co-founder. The sources are clear. You need a support system.
So what does that look like?
You need mentors to guide you so you don't make the same mistakes they did. You need a team to execute your vision. You need customers to validate your idea. You need advocates who speak for you when you aren't in the room.
And navigating all of that requires more than just a high IQ. It requires EQ.
Emotional intelligence. Grok and DeepSeek emphasize this heavily. Managing your own emotions, which helps with your own resilience, and being able to read others is just as important, if not more important, than your technical skill.
DeepSeek talks about empathy and relationship management, and I feel like this is where a lot of really smart people cap out. They're brilliant technical wizards, but they just can't work with people. They burn bridges. They come off as arrogant.
Absolutely. And if people don't like working with you, opportunities just stop coming your way. Business is ultimately about people. People buy from people they like. People hire people they like. If you have a high EQ, you just attract opportunities. People want you to win.
Perplexity and Grok also mention giving back as a strategy, which sounds altruistic, and it is, but they also frame it as a success strategy.
It's both. Helping others increases your own self-esteem, which feeds back into that confidence loop we talked about earlier. But practically, it opens doors. When you provide value to other people without immediately asking for something in return, you build a reputation, you build trust, you build what they call social capital.
It's like planting seeds. You don't know which one will eventually grow into a tree, but if you don't plant any, you're guaranteed to get no harvest.
Precisely. And that harvest very often looks like luck.
Ah, the luck factor. This was actually a point of contention in the sources. I was reading through the notes, and it kind of felt like the AIs were arguing with each other.
It was a bit of a debate. Gemini, for its part, openly admits that luck, just being in the right place at the right time, plays a role. And we can't deny that.
Of course not.
Being born in a certain country, meeting a certain person, by chance randomness exists. Some people work hard their whole lives and get hit by a bus. Some people are lazy and win the lottery. It happens.
But DeepSeek and Copilot, they pushed back on that fatalistic view.
They did. They argue that you create your own luck by taking calculated risks.
It's the idea that luck is a probability game. If you stay locked in your house, your probability of getting lucky is 0. But if you go out, meet people, launch products, take risks, you increase the surface area for luck to strike.
Exactly. You have to be in the game for luck to find you. You can't steer a parked car. The person who goes to 5 networking events has 5 times the luck potential of the person who only goes to 1.
The person who launches 10 products has 10 times the chance of getting a hit compared to the person who only launches 1.
So luck, in many ways, is actually a function of your action. You can't control the outcome of any single event, but you can control how many times you spin the wheel.
Okay, so let's say you do all of this. You have the growth mindset. You grind through the CRP with discipline. You're a workaholic, driven by passion. You build a great network with high EQ. You get a lucky break because you were in the game. You achieve success. You get the money, the title, the fame. You're on the cover of the magazine.
And this is where we hit segment 5, the trap.
The warning label on the bottle.
Right. Grok cited a Harvard Business Review article that is really, really sobering. The core argument is that success does not always lead to satisfaction. In fact, sometimes it leads to the exact opposite.
This is the arrival fallacy, right? The idea that once I get there, then I'll be happy.
Once I make $1 million, my anxiety will go away.
Once I get the promotion, I'll finally feel complete.
And Claude backs this up completely. If you define success only by those external markers we talked about at the very beginning, the wealth, the status, the corner office, you may end up feeling completely empty.
You climb the mountain, you struggle all the way to the top, you sacrifice your weekends, your hobbies, your sleep. You finally get there, you look around, and you realize it's cold up there, and you're all alone.
The HBR citation warns that the pursuit of these markers can actually leave individuals feeling emptier than when they started, because they sacrificed everything real to get there. They traded their internal fulfillment for external markers.
They traded their life for a resume.
That's the cost. And this is why DeepSeek and the Finally Family Home source emphasize holistic success.
Holistic meaning the whole person, not just the worker bee version of you.
Exactly. You have to balance your ambition with your health and well-being. DeepSeek specifically mentions sleep, exercise, and stress management.
It sounds so basic, but how many successful people do we hear about who burn out, have heart attacks at 50, or completely destroy their families in the process?
Too many. It's a cliche for a reason. The overworked executive who was divorced and estranged from their kids. Copilot had a really beautiful summary of this. It said, success is about becoming the best version of yourself.
Not the richest version, the best version.
Right. And that includes being a healthy version, being a version that has friends, being a version that can actually sleep at night without medication.
If you win the game of business but you lose the game of life, did you really win?
Or did you just play the wrong game entirely?
Wow. That is the ultimate question.
It is. And it brings us right back to the very first point, the definition. You have to define it for yourself, or society will define it for you.
Yeah.
And society's definition is usually broken. Society wants you to be a consumer and a producer. It doesn't actually care if you're happy.
Okay, let's take a breath. We have covered a lot of ground. I mean, from the neural pathways of the growth mindset to the gritty reality of CRP, all the way to the trap of empty victories.
It's a lot to synthesize. It's a massive topic.
It is. So let's try to boil this down for the listener. If we look at this entire stack of AI analysis, if we distill all these millions of data points, what is the formula? What are the takeaways to put on a Post-it note?
I'd say it comes down to 4 main pillars.
Hit me.
Number 1, define it yourself. Don't borrow someone else's map. If you don't know where you're going, if you don't distinguish between external markers and internal fulfillment, no amount of hustle is going to get you to a happy place. You have to know what enough looks like for you.
Okay. Number 2.
Adopt a growth mindset. Truly believe you can change. Treat every failure as data, not a death sentence. Build your confidence through small, consistent wins. Stop saying, I can't, and start saying, I haven't learned this yet.
Number 3.
Execute with discipline. Ideas are cheap. You need the habits. You need deep work or monk mode. You need the grit to push through the CRP. You have to, in some way, fall in love with the boredom of consistency.
And number 4.
Connect with people. You cannot do it alone. Build your EQ, serve others, give back, and just put yourself in a position to get lucky. Be the kind of person that other people want to see succeed.
And I'll just add the big caveat we just discussed. Don't lose yourself in the process.
That's the most important part. That is the safety net under all of it.
So why does this matter? Why take a deep dive into this? Why not just, read the motivational quotes on Instagram and call it a day?
Because we live in a world of information overload. We are drowning in advice. We are paralyzed by choice. But when you look at the actual data, when you strip away the trends and the influencers, the principles are actually very, very simple.
Simple but difficult.
Exactly. There is no secret code. There is no magic pill. There is no one weird trick. It's just a set of difficult but simple principles applied consistently over a long period of time.
That is both terrifying and reassuring at the same time. It means it's possible, but it also means I have to actually do the work. I can't just manifest it from my couch.
That's the deal. Life doesn't grade on a curve. You get out what you put in, provided you're putting it in the right places.
I want to leave our listener with a final thought from that Grok and Finally Family Homes source. It's something that has been sticking with me since we started researching this. It's a bit of a haunting question, really.
Which one?
It's this. If you achieve all of your goals, every single one, the money, the house, the accolades, but you sacrifice your health and your relationships to get there, did you actually succeed, or did you just lose in a different way?
That is a question that only the listener can answer for themselves. But I hope they answer it before they start the climb, not after they reach the top.
Indeed. Something to think about on your next commute or your next session of deep work.
Absolutely.
Thank you for taking this deep dive with us. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.